Hey, good evening, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Good evening, good evening. We haven't had class for about a month with our Pesach break. We have a lot of excitement tonight. Baruch Hashem. We have a lot of food here. We have candy. We have a mazal tov to Mr. Andy Basali. His wife had a baby girl. Yes? Mazal tov, mazal tov. And Itai came here with a lot of wine, a lot of beer, a lot of stuff. We're not sure why. We're still trying to figure out why Itai got it. Mazal tov to Itai, got engaged. Baruch Hashem, in good health. Inshallah, in good health for the wedding planning. The truth is, all of the wine and the beer, not the Dan Julio, but everything else is props for the shiur for tonight's class. You don't get this in high school, in where they give you a gemara class with different types of alcohol. But it's actually related to the topic of the night. So this works out. Your brother didn't come this time, and he's underage drinking. Yeah, we can tell him to come. Tell him to come if you want. Yeah, he's downstairs. Okay. So we are going to have some fun gemarot here. Here's a question for you. Okay, let's see the people on the Zoom. Can you see these two? Everyone can see this. Which one is which? Which one is beer? Which one is wine? My right hand is beer. Left hand is wine. What? How do you know? It's you're like, I don't even need to see it. So you could tell. It's probably less opaque. This is clearer. You can see through it. Okay, very interesting. So tonight we're going to talk about some halachot. About, let's say someone grabbed a cup like this and he picked this up, and he's not an expert like some of the gentlemen here are, and he says, "Oh wow, this is a white wine," and he's going to say a Bor Piragef, and then all of a sudden, "Oh, that's beer." Okay, so let's say that happens, or vice versa. Let's say someone, for example, thinks this is beer, and then, oh, it smells like it's actually it's a wine. We're going to talk about people mixing up berachot tonight, and that's why actually the color of these drinks are actually perfect. I couldn't have thought of it better myself. So we're going to talk about this tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem. But in order to do that, we first have to. There was one line of the Gemara that we left off. I sort of wish we would have done this last time, but there's one line that we need to wrap up before we get into this topic. Just ending off last time, we were discussing what berachot Kohanim would say when they were doing the service. There would be a group. Do you remember what the name of the group was that would each shift? Mishmar. Very good. Each Kohen family had shifts in the Beit HaMikdash, and we speak about the shifts that the Kohanim would have in the Beit HaMikdash. They would come in, they would do their job, and since they were so busy, they would say very few berachot. And they would only say one beracha of Berachot Torah in the morning, or they would say only one beracha before Shema Yisrael, and that's how we got this connection. There was just one final detail that we missed, and then we're going to do this and move on. The final detail is that the Mishmar HaYotzeh and the Mishmar HaNichnas, every week the Kohanim, they would have the change of the guards. When would that happen? It would happen on Shabbat. So on Friday, the new family would come in, they would check in, and then on Shabbat, in the middle of the day, the previous Kohen family would pass it off to the new Kohen family, and they would shift up. The Gemara, the Braita told us that there would be a beracha. One of them would give a blessing to the other as they're leaving. So now we're just going to say what that blessing was, and that's how we're going to wrap it up. Okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to share screen. We are on Gemara Masechet Berachot, Daf Yud Bet Amud Aleph 12B. Thank you to Adam Silver for not scheduling a Knicks game tonight. Is he still the commissioner, Adam Silver? He is. Okay. Wow, he's been there for a while. Here we go. Yeah, if there was a Knicks game tonight, we would have just canceled shiur for one more week. There's no way. Or this big screen up here would have just had the game on. Maybe next week, if they don't sweep, there might be a game next week. Okay, let's go. So let me just wrap up this last line, and then we're going to move on to our Gemara. The last line was, Shabbat mosifin beracha achat lemishmar hayotzeh. If you're looking at the art scroll, 8 is the 2 dots on Yud Bet Amud Aleph, which is 12A2. Shabbat mosifin beracha achat lemishmar hayotzeh. The mishmar that was leaving, the group of Kohanim. Oh, Rani Aziz is here this week. Wow, perfect for our Kohanim. Rani, I haven't seen you in person and since Masechet Megillah. Oh, you're It's been 6 years since you've been here in person. Shut up. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now I know how to get you here. Okay. So Shabbat mosifin beracha achad mishmar hayotzeh. The change of the guards, the family of the Kohanim that are coming in are going to speak to the family of the Kohanim that are leaving, and they would give them one blessing. My beracha achat. What is the blessing? Amar Rabbi Chavo says, Mishmar hayotzeh omer leMishmar hanichnas. The leaving family, Mishmar hayotzeh, says to the incoming family. It's almost like the veterans are telling the rookies, except it's not really a rookie. It's like these families are doing it twice a year, basically. But for that week, the one that just finished their service is welcoming the new family of Kohanim and says to them, Mi sheshiken et shemo b'bayit hazeh, he who has placed his name on this home, on this house, is talking about the Beit HaMikdash, which who placed his name on this home? Hashem. Hu yashkin benechem, he should place amongst you ahava ve'achva ve'shalom ve're'ud, love, brotherhood, peace, and camaraderie. Okay, so this is basically how it ends. There's a lot of commentators that try to understand what exactly is this bracha. These Kohanim have been doing the service for 1 week. When Kohanim are doing the service, it is like they're working very hard. They're not, you can see like their tefillah is condensed into 30 seconds because they're working hard. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of competition. Who gets to do what? Everyone's moving fast. It's work that they're doing all night long. Finally, after 1 week, they're done. They're telling this family, they're telling, as they're going, they're telling the family, Be'ezrat Hashem, that you guys should have peace amongst you. Shalom Bayit. Why? Because it's a stressful time period for the Kohanim. There's a lot of work. There's stories of Kohanim that they would get in fights. One of them would push the other one off the ramp because he wanted to do the mitzvah and he was up there and he would beat the other one up. It would get dangerous. These Kohanim, if you ever want to pick a fight and you get to pick who you get to pick a fight against, don't pick a Kohen. You don't want to pick a fight against a Kohen because Kohanim are a little bit, they let's just say it's better to be a Kohen's friend than not. So right? Yeah, exactly. We want to be on your good side. That's why we're treating you well. We'll get you some drinks. But this idea is how the Kohanim that are leaving say to the Kohanim that are coming in, the one that's name is here, meaning remember where you are. Remember that you're in the name of home of Hashem. And Yiratzon, Hashem should bless you and your family with peace and ahava and achva and camaraderie. You could imagine how this could be a family reunion also. They don't all live in the same house. So now you have the entire family coming there. It's an opportunity for them to also build that relationship. Okay, let's go back to the topic of our Mishnah, which actually does a complete tangent. But if you recall, in our Mishnah, it was telling us that however the beracha is set up, the beracha of Shema is set up, that's how you have to say it. So if the beracha starts with the Baruch, then you have to start it with the Baruch. If it ends with Baruch Ta Shema, then you have to end with it. If it doesn't, then don't. If it's a short one, don't make it long. If it's a long one, don't make it short. You cannot mess around with the berachot. Okay? So now, with that, we have the following question. Okay? Everyone, please take a look. I have here in my hands, we already spoke about this, I have 2 cups. This one is wine, this one is beer. Okay, what's the beracha on wine? It's Borei Pri HaGefen. That's the beracha that you would say on wine. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Borei Pri HaGefen. What's the beracha on beer? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Now we're gonna get into the discussion of what happens if I thought one was the other and I started with the wrong intention, but then I corrected myself. You get it? So I said the right words, but my intention during the beginning of the beracha was for the wrong thing. So like I said, it's almost like I picked this up. I think this is wine. Now I'm going to say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. I know that this is beer now. I can tell that it's beer, but only halfway through. So I start with the wrong intention, but then I have the right intent. But then I conclude and I say the right thing. Okay? So let's go ahead and see the Gemara. This wasn't necessary, by the way, but it's yeah. Okay. Pshita, continue with the Gemara. Pshita. Now the Gemara is going to say, you know what case is obvious? Pshita, it's obvious in the following case that I don't need to repeat a bracha. Hecha de kanakit kasar de chamra. I'm holding a cup of wine. Okay, so this is wine. He's holding a cup of wine in his hand because savar the shichrahu, and I thought it was beer. So far you got it. I'm holding the wine, but I think it's beer. So if I think it's beer, what bracha am I gonna say? I'm gonna say she'akol. Upatach umevarech. He opens. Patach means he starts the bracha. Umevarech, and he starts blessing adata de shichra, with the knowledge of Shikra, which means he's saying Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, thinking that I'm going to say Shakol, because I'm thinking it's beer. V'siyem b'dechamra. But then he opens his eyes, he realizes it's the wrong one, so he says, Borei peri hagefen. Okay, so I'm holding a cup of wine. I say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Borei peri hagefen, but in the beginning I was thinking to say Shakol. So the Gemara says, in this case, Yatsa. It's obvious that's fine. Why? Because because let's say I would have just kept on going with the wrong beracha. Im amar she'akol niya bidvaro. If you would have said the beracha of she'akol niya bidvaro anyway, yatsa, you would have fulfilled your obligation. Which means if I hold this wine and I say this is beer, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam she'akol niya bidvaro, am I good? Do I need to make another beracha? The answer is you're good, because if you say she'akol, you're good for everything. Dehatanan, because we're going to learn in the Mishnah upcoming, al kulam, on any food item. Im amar she'akol niya bidvaro, yatsa. If you say the beracha of she'akol niya bidvaro, you fulfill your obligation. So here's what we're saying. We're saying, I pick up a cup of wine and I start thinking of saying she'akol, but then I say borei peri hagefen at the end. This is completely fine, because if you're going to say it goes by what I said, borei peri hagefen. If you're going to say it goes by what I thought, but what did I think? I thought Shakol Niya Bidvaro. That's also fine. So I'm thinking Shakol Niya Bidvaro. It's fine. I say Borei Peri Hagefen. It's fine. So this case where I'm holding wine and I think it's beer, when I say the beracha, I'm good to go. I don't need to repeat anything. Fine. But what about the flip case? Elahecha. Now let me put down the wine and I'm going to pick up the beer. Elahecha de kanakit kasad de shichra biyadeh. I'm holding the cup of beer in my hand. Because savar de chamrahu, and I think this is wine. So when I say Baruch, what am I going to think about? I think it's wine. Patachu barich adata de chamra. I'm going to start saying the beracha thinking about wine, which is Baruch Ata Hashem. What am I thinking about? Borei peri hagefen. So I'm thinking about Borei peri hagefen. If I say Borei peri hagefen on beer, is that good? No, because Borei peri hagefen means Hashem created the fruits of the vine, grapes. This is not out of grapes. So that's a wrong beracha. If I say Borei peri hagefen on beer, and then I realize I said the wrong beracha, you have to say another beracha. So I started off by thinking the wrong beracha, but I corrected myself. And I said, Shakol niya bidvaro, what is the law? In other words, to generalize the question is, does it matter only about what I say? Because if it's only what I said Baruch Hashem Shakol niya bidvaro on this beer and I'm fine. Does it matter only what I say? Or does it matter what I'm thinking about when I say the name of Hashem? Because while I said Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, when I'm saying the name of Hashem, I'm actually thinking about something else. I'm thinking about wine. So does that invalidate it? What is more important? Is it more important what I actually say, or is it what's more important is my thoughts at the time that I say the name of Hashem? That is the question of our Gemara. If it's the case where I'm holding wine and I'm thinking Shakol niya bidvaro, well, even my thoughts is not wrong, so it's fine. But if I'm holding wine and I'm thinking if I'm holding beer and I'm thinking Borei peri hagefen, that's wrong. So if you go with my thoughts, it's no good. If you go with my words, I corrected myself, it is good. What's the halacha in this case? Once I realize I made this mistake, do I need to make another beracha? Okay, that is the question. We're going to try to see what the answer is, but I see there's some questions. So let's go. Let's ask some questions. Yeah, go ahead. Hold on. I actually want to drink, but I don't know what. Okay, let's do the wine. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei peri hagefen. We almost did it live. We almost had a mistake there live. This is like a perfect way of getting confused. You want me to get even more confused? I'll put them in these cups. No, I'm joking. Okay, yeah, it's question. Wow. Okay, you're talking about the halachot that we discussed of whether Hirhure Torah requires a berkat Torah. whether thinking about the Torah requires a thought of beracha of asher kedisharim al divrei Torah, to make the beracha of Torah. In other words, if someone wakes up in the middle of the night or whenever and they want to just think about Torah without saying the words, do they need to make a beracha? Here we're talking about something else. Here we're talking about someone is actively uttering a beracha. They're actually saying something. They're saying Baruch Atah Hashem, but their intentions are in the wrong place. The guy is picking up a glass of beer, which I need to say Shakol, but I'm thinking to say Borei Pri HaGefen, which is wrong. So I'm actually saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. So even though in a situation, that's a different situation. Here's a situation where I'm actually saying something, but the intentions don't align. Does that mess up what I'm saying? Is the question we're dealing with. In this case that we're talking about, you say the right words. You take the beer and you're saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Shakol Ni'am B'Dvaro, but when I said the name of Hashem, I was thinking about wine. Good? Okay, good. Question? Who else had a question? Yeah.
Why do we think that the intention is
that's okay? Excellent question. So you're basically already answering by saying, of course, if you said the right thing, you said the right thing. So this is, we see implicit here, and actually Rashi will say this, and the Rambam says this, and the commentators say is that the most important part of a beracha is not the name of the food. The most important part of a beracha is that you're thanking Hashem. And so if you're thinking about Hashem, and when you say the name of Hashem, that is what's called the Ikar beracha. The moment that you're saying the name of Hashem is the moment where you have to be laser focused. And the moment when you're saying the name of Hashem, you're saying the wrong, you're thinking about something that's not really what you're thinking him for. This is the way Rashi explains it. The Ikar beracha is the name of Hashem. And if you're thinking about something else, then it's almost as though the beracha is over when you're really thinking about the name of Hashem, but you just have to conclude it with your words. But the main thing is the thoughts. That's the way they're explaining it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. It is. Let's say I have this discussion. Now, you might say with the Sfirat Omer, there's a rabbinic aspect of it. So you're asking a very good question whether this aligns with Sfirat Omer. And yeah, exactly. Let's say I'm making the beracha of Sfirat Omer, thinking tonight is, I didn't count yet, but thinking tonight is whatever night it is. And then as I look, I say, oh, I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't count the other night. And you have all of these thoughts. When you're making the beracha, you should be laser focused on being able to count. So same concept, yes. David Delamani asks, how did this discussion come from the statement in the Mishnah? Okay, excellent question. The commentators asked this. The answer is as follows. Because our Mishnah, you were going to see, it's actually really, it comes from our Mishnah from the part of the answers. Our Mishnah says, in a place where it tells you to lachtom, if it says to, here, let me get the exact lashon of our Mishnah, which I think I'm right. Our Mishnah says that if it tells you to put a seal here, it says, Shelo lachtom, laharich, lachtom, eno rashai shelo lachtom, eno rashai lachtom. If the bracha, the text of the bracha, has a seal at the end, then you're not allowed to not put that seal. And if the bracha doesn't have a seal at the end, then you're not allowed to put a seal. So based on this, the gemara is saying, okay, when you're talking about the seal, that Baruch Atah Hashem Shakol Ni'am B'Dvaro is the ending, or how important, which part of that bracha is the most important part? And that's really what we're asking now. Is it the Baruch Atah Hashem part that's most important, or is it the words at the end that's most important? That's how the question is coming. Okay?
Rabbi.
Yeah.
It seems like that basically answers the question, that the seal is what makes the bracha. So it seems like the ending is what counts.
So you're saying this is good or bad? Meaning the situation where I hold the glass of beer, I'm thinking to say Borei Pri HaGefen, but then I say the correct beracha of Shakol Ni'am B'Dvaro.
I would think, according to the Mishnah, that it's good.
Because you're saying you go by since I said the correct seal of Shakol Ni'am B'Dvaro, it should be fine.
Correct.
Okay,
but it said, let's say Baruch Atah Hashem, Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvah, and then you have to change. You're changing it. If you're changing the words of the bracha, then you probably would have to repeat.
Okay, so you're saying if you say the correct words and the words that you said is exactly the correct words, and it doesn't matter what your intention is. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, by the ending time, you should end it the way it should
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I like where you're going with this. I want to show you the Rashi. Where is the Rashi? Hold on. You know what? Let's just see this Rashi just because of Jaden's question and as what you guys are saying.
I'm also thinking like, example, morning blessing, teaching kids morning blessing. And at least when I started learning it, I didn't learn the meaning of every individual one, just said all of them.
Okay. Right. So there could be a difference between berachot of Sheva and berachot of Hana'ah. Right now, I'm going to say beracha that almost permits me, as the gemara is later on, for you, it's like earlier on, because you already finished the Masechah. But for the gemara, for us later on, is going to say that you're asur lehenot me'olam hazeh bli beracha. You're not allowed to get benefit from anything in this world without saying beracha. Meaning, the beracha is almost the password that enables you to enjoy the food. If you say the wrong beracha, then you're not allowed to benefit from it. So let's say I said the wrong beracha, do I have to correct myself or not? If I said the right one, but I had the wrong intention, do I have to correct myself or not? So see, look at Rashi. It's not this one. It's this one. So Rashi says, Batar ikar beracha azlinan. Do we go after the most important part of the bracha? The ikar beracha adata de yain. The main part of the bracha, which is the name of Hashem. I was thinking about wine. Nemra. And it's as though the very fact that when I said the name of Hashem, I thought about wine, it's as though the bracha is done. But it's not, and that doesn't, saying bar beer doesn't cover beer. Because beer doesn't come from the wine, the vineyard. Or do you say you go by the last words? Okay, Rama, you should be confused about what's going on right now. Okay, we're doing a beer, wine, Don Julio testing, taste testing here. And if it's not weird, then Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's keep going. The Gemara generalizes and just asks its questions. Batar ikar beracha azlinan. Do we go after the most important part of the beracha, which means saying the name of Hashem, having the right thing in mind? Or batar chatima azlinan, or do we go after the words at the conclusion of the beracha? Ta Shema. Ta Shema. Did we ever talk about what Ta Shema means? We did? We did. What does Ta Shema mean? Come in here, but what is that? Okay, so those are the translation. But Ta Shema is there's a function there. It's like a signpost. It's telling you something that's going to happen. It's bringing a beracha. Okay, you're thinking about, it could be you're thinking about Amar Mar, but it's bringing a beracha for a specific purpose. Because the word we had Tanya is also talking about a beracha. Tanya or Tanu Rabbanan is a beracha. So what is Ta Shema, the function of Ta Shema? Yeah, it's going to quote a beracha or a mishnah, but it's coming to do something. What is it coming to do? No. No. So Ta Shema means, let's see if we could get our answer from this beracha. Ta Shema, anytime it says Ta Shema, is what it's doing is it's attempting to get an answer from some source that's not explicit. Or it might be explicit. So we just, you have to understand this, the flow of the Gemara. The Gemara just asked a question. It said, here's the situation. I picked up beer. I thought it was wine, but then corrected myself. Is that good or not? The Gemara is saying, I don't have that explicit answer, but let's try to figure it out from this beracha. That's what Ta Shema means. Ta Shema means come and hear. Come and hear means let's analyze this. I'm going to quote to you a beracha, but it's not just quoting you a beracha, right? It's I'm quoting you a beracha to do what with that? To try to answer the original question, okay? Is everyone clear on that? Can someone explain to me what is the function of Ta Shema? When I see Ta Shema, what does that mean? Okay, so that's number one. When you see Ta Shema, you should know that before that there was a question. There's an unresolved question, and you're trying to resolve it, okay?
There's another discussion that happens here. It's not talking about the situation, but maybe we can connect it in some way to try to...
Beautiful. You guys got that? Okay, so Ta Shema. Let's go. Very good. Someone remind me to ask about what Ta Shema is in the next class, so that we can make sure that you're paying attention. I'm going to ask in the next class. what Ta Shema means. Okay, so try to ingrain this into your mind. Maybe if you get the answer right, we'll do this again sometime. Ta Shema, we learned in a Braita, Shacharit, this is the Braita, tells us. Let's say in the beracha of Shacharit, how does the beracha of the first beracha of Kriyat Shema, right after Barachu, how does the beracha start? Berachot 12A, Yotzer Or Berachot. And how does it end? Berachot Hashem, Yotzer HaMe'orot. What about nighttime? After Barachu, how does the beracha start? Berachot Hashem Elokeinu Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim bechokma. And how does it end? Baruch Hashem ha'ma'ariv aravim. Very good. So we start off with Yotzer Or and Yotzer HaMe'orot. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim and ha'ma'ariv aravim. Now we're going to say, what happens if someone started the wrong one? It happens all the time. Someone says Baruch Hu, and then they start saying, oh, I said the wrong one. Or I started thinking about the wrong one. So let's see. We have a Braita that's going to talk to us about if you started saying the wrong beracha of Shema and you corrected yourself. Let's see if we could take those laws and apply it for this case of the beer and wine. Okay? Ta Shema. Shacharit, in the case of Shacharit, Patach b'Yotzer Or, a person started saying Baruch Atah Hashem, thinking about Yotzer Or, which is the right one. V'siyem b'ma'ariv aravim. But he kept going, and then he started saying the Arvit one. Lo yatsa, you did not fulfill your obligation. It's not Arvit time. So you started thinking about Shacharit, good, but then you messed it up by saying the wrong things. No good. Lo yatsa, that's fine. But what about the flip case? Patach b'ma'ariv aravim. You started off by saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, thinking that you're going to say the Arvit, and then all of a sudden you cut yourself. And you said So you started thinking the wrong one, and then you corrected yourself with the right one, which is what our question is. So patach b'ma'ariv aravim b'siyam b'yotzer or, and then you ended up by concluding it the right way. Yatsa, fulfilled your obligation.
Wait, Rabbi, you're totally changing the words in one scenario.
No. I'm not changing the words. I'm saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, and when I say the name of Hashem, I'm thinking about saying the Arvit prayer, but then I catch myself and I say Yotzer Or Berachot. I don't say the words Ma'ariv Aravim. You're right. Okay, Ilan is making a good point. It's not that you said the wrong words and then you changed it. It's that you're saying what we're trying to do, at least your intention. You opened up with the wrong intention when the words were the same. The words at this point were still the same, and you're thinking about the wrong things. So it's very similar because the words that you said was correct. It's just that you started with the wrong intention. So if you started with the wrong intention and corrected it to say Yotzer Or, this Braita tells us Yatsa. Symmetry, we're going to talk about Arvit. Patach ma'ariv aravim. If you started off thinking about Arvit, Asher b'dvar ma'ariv aravim, you started thinking about that, v'siyem b'yotzer or, but then you said the actual berachot of Yotzer Or, lo yatsa, you did not fulfill your obligation. You started thinking the right way, but then you said the wrong thing, no good. Patach b'yotzer or. If in the nighttime, you started thinking about the daytime, v'siyem ma'ariv aravim, but then you corrected yourself and you said the right bracha, yatsa, you fulfilled your obligation. Klalo shel davar, here's the rule. Hakol olech achar achitum. Everything goes based on how you seal the beracha. So if you started off thinking about it in the wrong way, but then you corrected yourself and you're saying it the right way, then you're good. So this is what the Braita tells us. The Braita tells us, for Shacharit, in the morning, if I start off thinking about Arvit, which is wrong, but then I correct it and I say the Shacharit bracha, you're good. And if in Arvit time, I started thinking about the morning, which is no good, but then I corrected myself and I caught it and I said the Arvit one, you're good. And then it says, the Braita gives us the rule. It all goes after the end. So now we're going to say, oh, okay, it's the same exact thing. I pick up a thing of beer. Oh, beer doesn't smell as good as one. So I pick up this thing of beer, and I'm thinking the wrong one of Ber Geffen, but then I correct myself and I say, should it be good? If you follow this Braita, it should be good. Now you see the function of Ta Shema. Ta Shema comes and says, let me bring another one Braita to give me an answer for this question. But the Gemara is now going to say, don't equate the two. One has nothing to do with the other. Shani Hatam, over there, by the case of Shema Yisrael, the berachot of Kriyat Shema, it's different. Why? The Ka'amar, because you once again say, Baruch Atah Hashem Yotzer HaMe'orot. In both the Arvi cases, so now what we're saying is, if you have tainted thoughts, when you say the name of Hashem, it's no good. The reason it works by Berachot Kriyat Shema is because you say Baruch Atah Hashem again at the end. So since you're saying Baruch Atah Hashem again at the end, you fix it. So here's what happened. In the morning time, I'm thinking that it's nighttime, and I'm saying Baruch Ata Hashem, I'm thinking about Arvit, and then I say I correct my words. It's not good because I messed up the first part, except for the fact the way the bracha ends is Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer HaMe'orot. I'm saying the name of Hashem again. So the first time was a problem, but since I have an opportunity to say the name of Hashem again, I have an opportunity to fix it. So that works when you end up with Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer HaMe'orot or Baruch Ata Hashem Amari Varabim. But in the case of holding a glass of beer and thinking Baruch Ata Hashem Shakol Ni'amid, I'm not getting a second chance to fix it. There's no more Baruch Ata Hashem at the end. So if I have a tainted thought during Baruch Ata Hashem, the name of Hashem, then you cannot learn from this beracha what the halacha is in the case of the beer and wine. Okay? So this is why it's a Ta Shema. Because we had a question. We said Ta Shema. Let's try to learn from this answer. The gemara is going to say, no, there you're saying Baruch Ata Hashem again. So don't bring me a proof that if you have bad thoughts during the name of Hashem, that it doesn't matter, because the thing is, in those cases, you're correcting it with another Berachot Hashem. You don't get that with the case of Shakol Ni'amid. Okay, I know there's a lot of train of thoughts here, but we're not even done. Okay, let's keep going, and then we'll come back to questions. The Gemara says, all of that works nice, according to Rav. The Amar Kol Beracha, She'en Ba Haskarat Hashem Ina Beracha. According to Rav, the most critical element of a beracha is the name of Hashem. If someone does not say the name of Hashem, the beracha is invalid. So according to Rav, the most important part is the name of Hashem, the thoughts that you have the name of Hashem. Shapir, fine. Then I understand why this is not a proof, because you get to say Baruch Ata Hashem again, so you get to correct it. Ela the Rabbi Yochanan, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Kol Beracha She'in Ba Malchut in a beracha. According to Rabbi Yochanan, really the most important part of a beracha is when you say Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Malchut. So what he's saying is, look at the beginning of a beracha of a Yotzer Or. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or V'Rech Choshech Oseh Shalom V'Reit HaKol. So let's say at the beginning I have the wrong thoughts. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. I'm thinking it's nighttime. Then I correct myself. Yotzer Or V'Rech Choshech Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer HaMe'orot. At the end, I'll say Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer HaMe'orot. So what do you want to tell me? You want to tell me the reason why this worked is because I got a chance to say Baruch Ata Hashem at the end, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, Baruch Ata Hashem is not enough. You have to say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, which you don't say, which means, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you're not getting a chance to correct yourself at the end. And if you're not getting a chance to correct yourself in the end, but it still works, then that means that if you have the wrong intention, it doesn't matter. It's okay if you have the wrong intention, because as long as at the end you said the right things, it works. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, we actually do have a good proof for our case of beer and wine. It was a train of thought. Okay? That's what we want to do now. So the Gemara is going to say, okay. We don't need to get too bogged down by this. But the Gemara is basically trying to answer our question by trying to borrow from the Shema Yisrael. So we thought we had an answer, then we rejected it. But we said that rejection only works according to Rav, it doesn't work according to Rabbi Yochanan. So we say, okay. I have another rejection. To tell me why this braita don't connect this to beer and wine. What is it? Since we learned in the last shiur, according to Rav Bar Ula, midat yom balayla, midat layla bayom, that it's important during the Berachot Kriyat Shema that in the morning you need to mention the night, and in the night you need to mention the morning. You guys remember this? Where do we mention night and night in the morning bracha? Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer Or U'V'Rech Choshech. You say Hashem created nighttime. So in the morning bracha, you have to say darkness. And what about in the night bracha? We have to say daytime. Where is that?
Ma'avir ben Yom u'ben Layla.
Ma'avir ben Yom u'ben Layla. Yeah, exactly. Hashem is that Ma'avir ben Yom u'ben Layla? Yeah. Sorry. Ma'avir ben Yom u'ben Layla. Ma'avir. Sorry. יושב בדורם הערי והערבי מלחמה, פתח שם מדונה, פתח שם שני יתמים ומחליף לזמנים, מסדר את כל חמים המשותים והגירס ורואים גולל אור ופני חושך ופני אור, המעביר יום ומביאם, מבדיל בין יום ולילה, yeah, exactly. Okay, we said it. The beracha says that Hashem changes from night to day and from day to night. Okay? So, do you remember I gave you an opinion as to why it's so important that you need to include both night and day in both the brachot? Someone remember why?
Same place. It's not two separate. There's not a God of night and a God of day. It's one God and it's the overarching theme of Judaism.
Very good. What was it? You're going to say the same thing? Very good. You don't want to make it seem that I'm praying to the God of day, and then at nighttime I'm praying to the God of night. It's the same God. So it's important that during the beracha of the day you also mention the night, and during the beracha of the night you have to mention the day. So you see what we're doing now. This Braita said, I started thinking about the nighttime, but then I corrected myself in the day. Okay, it's good. Oh, that's a proof that only the end matters. It says no, because even when you started thinking about the night, that's good. You have to think about the nighttime also. Remember, there has to be darkness in there. So since the bracha of the day needs to encapsulate the night, then if you're thinking about the night, it's not really that bad. So thinking about the night in this instance is not an issue. But about beer and wine, it would be an issue. So let's see, the Gemara says that that you have to mention night in the beracha of the day, and you have to mention day in the beracha of the night. When a person says Ta Shema, it says the name of Hashem and the fact that He's King, he's really should be thinking about both, or he can be thinking about either, because both of them are appropriate. Okay? Yes. Question.
You're implying that like you want to give room to the narrative that we mentioned today. Say we're forgiven, praying to the God that God So what's the
Okay. Excellent question. Meaning, it's actually a very good question as to why we need to have different brachot. Why don't we just have one standard bracha for all food? Yeah, you just say shakol. Just say shakol for everything. Why do we need to have different brachot for different food items? Okay, elaborate. How is it showing?
The more detailed you are with another human or with Hashem, the more you show that you care about every specific thing, every small detail that Hashem did.
Amazing. The more details that you put in, the more appreciative you're showing that you are. You're acknowledging the details. If I say to you, Rama, like, oh, you're amazing, then it's all. But if I say, Rama, the thoughtfulness that you have in your questions, and when you ask a question, you're really pushing me and you're giving me a hard time and you're challenging me and you're sharpening me, which compliment do you like more? When I say you're amazing, or when I give you some more detail? The more detail you give into something, the more you feel connected. So
examples with the spouse. You want to compliment the wife, you want to tell her she's great. Tell her specifically what she's done that makes you great.
Yeah. Take some notes. Shalom Bayit. Shalom Bayit.
Not that I do that.
So that's part of the answer. Part of the answer is that when we're again going back to this concept of that there's different types of berachot, and the berachot of nehenin, that you want to say beracha before you enjoy something. Chachamim established ways of making berachot, and some are more specific than others. So can you say something more generic, shakol? You can, but if you have the wrong thoughts, if I pick this up and I say, "Oh Hashem, you make excellent meat," and I eat it, it's like you're saying nonsense. You don't appreciate anything. Or you're picking this up and say, "Wow, Hashem, yeah, roses smell great," and I drink the beer. What does one have to do with the other? It's almost as though, like, from your words, it's clear that you don't appreciate it and you're not thanking Hashem at all. So if I break this and I say, "Wow, grapes are excellent for wine," and then I drink beer, you're not saying the correct beracha. It doesn't count. You need to say another beracha. So it's not that we have a concern that someone's going to think one God created the vines. It's that it's an appreciation, and Chachamim made the appreciation established in specific ways. Yeah, question. Okay, excellent question. So this really opens up the idea of what's called, it's going to come up later in our Masachet, a few times actually. We have this concept of beracha levatala or beracha she'ena tzricha. According to the Rambam, when we have in the, the third commandment, Lo tisa et Shem Adonai Elohecha lashav. Don't use God's name in vain. Ki lo yinaki Adonai asher yisa Hashem lashav. Hashem doesn't like it when you use Hashem's name in vain. In other words, if you use Hashem's name too much, it's also showing a lack of appreciation for the name of Hashem. So if someone's just saying berachot all the time, then when you say beracha, it doesn't mean anything, right? There's a level. Chachamim say you say 100 berachot a day at the right times when you're doing the right things. Someone who just says it, I just have to say this. My son right now, Yosef, he's 2 years old. He sings Hashem Melech on loop. Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech in midnight. The kid, it's time for him to sleep. And just keep saying Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech. He also even just the 2 words, he's like a DJ. Just the same thing over and over. So let's say you say something over and over, yeah, it's cute. But it comes to a point where, okay, you clearly don't understand what you're saying, because if it's just like you're saying something fun. To really appreciate what you're saying, then when you say something, it means something. So again, this idea of you want to say, oh, Hashem, make a bracha like this, make a bracha. Of course, it's good to be appreciative. But when you're using the name of Hashem in the context of a bracha, it cannot be overused, because overusing it, this is a case of less is more. The less you say it in appropriate situations, the more you show that you mean something. Whereas if you use it too much, you could ask the question about Hashem saying, don't use my name in vain. Why? Why does Hashem say, don't use my name in vain? What's the problem? What do they say about marketing? If you want to spread bad news for me, what is it? You guys know what I'm talking about? If you're going to spread bad news for me, just make sure you spell my name correctly. You ever heard this? That if you want to go on the news and you want to say something, just make sure you spell my name correctly, which means bad press is good, right? What? Any press is good press. So why doesn't Hashem just say, no, keep saying my name, it's good? Because the answer is because when someone says it too much, then they come to lack fear and appreciation of Hashem. So there's a balance. There's a balance, right? Yeah? I think the woman's getting to me. Yeah.
Why are they making such a big deal about the split-second statement? You're not even saying.
Okay. Excellent question. So at this pace, we will never finish with berachot, but it's okay. Yeah, but you're asking a very important question. Your question is like, this is what you would say in Farsi, like futabia. The guy is saying the correct beracha. He's actually saying the right thing. For half a second, he thought he had wine. Okay, what are you creating this whole big issue? You're gonna make him repeat, say you didn't say the beracha. He said the right thing, right? He said the right thing. He just had the wrong time. So okay. The Gemara will often ask questions and probe and probe and probe until we understand at its core how something works. We want to understand at its core how a bracha works, right? And what we want to understand is, what is the most critical part of a bracha? Is it the thoughts during the times where you say the name of Hashem, or is it the actual words? That's really generalized what we're trying to ask. So is it really so much that we're trying to bust this guy's chops? No, it's that when the Gemara asks this question and tries to bring proofs and tries to disprove, at its core, it's trying to understand how a bracha works. When you say a bracha, how does this
Magic sauce.
yeah, correct. What is the secret sauce here? And yeah, that will have implications that if someone has the wrong thoughts and the thoughts are what's most important, then it's no good. But it's not that this person's a bad person. It's just that we're trying to learn the anatomy of a bracha and what are the most important aspects of a bracha, and this is the way that it's getting to it. And that's usually the best way to get to something, is by asking examples. And like this is like part of how Gemara works. It gives an example, and then you have to generalize from that example to understand the concept. Yeah, question?
If they're going to say the important part is like saying Hashem's name, whatever you're thinking, the words in your head, then why can't I just say, like, I say Baruch Ta Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, and I'm thinking in my head Shako, and then I go drink beer.
Say it again.
Why is the seal? Why is saying those final words so significant? If you're saying if you have the wrong one, then you have to say it again.
Right. So okay. So now you're saying, according to the side of this argument that thinks that the intention is what matters, so then why do I even need to say anything?
For not anything, you need to say the end.
Because even this opinion that says that intention is what matters, you have to think of the food item.
Yeah, I'm saying you think it.
Oh. So you're saying just say Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam?
And I think Shako, and then I would say eat something with Shako.
Okay. So like, why do you even need to say those words at all? Right. So it is a good question. I guess it's to help focus your thoughts. According to the Rambam, there's a Rambam that says that you could make berachot in your mind. According to the Rambam in halachot Shema, I believe, where he says belibo, you really could have thoughts of berachot in your mind. So I guess the first answer to your question is to say like maybe you're right, maybe you're right. But I think more simply, you don't even need to go there. I think you look clearly. We have this idea that you need to say the beracha. You need to meaning there are sources of so that you actually need to utter something. The source comes from. We actually didn't speak about this. The source for having to make a beracha before food, we're going to learn later on, comes from the fact that the Torah says ve'achalta ve'savata uve'rachta. You eat something, you become satisfied, and then you should bless verbally. You should say the words. And the Gemara is going to say, if you have to make a beracha after you're satisfied, then of course you should make a beracha before you appreciate, before you eat, because you appreciate it and you need it even more there. Okay? But it's all based on the fact that the Torah says make a beracha, and beracha is something that you say verbal. It's just that we're trying to understand if I have the wrong intention, does that disqualify the beracha? Which might be the case or maybe not. That's what we're trying to figure out. Yeah, yeah. Meaning, if you go down that path that's saying the intention is what matters, then you might say, then how much does what I say even matter? Maybe it's just like a placeholder for my thoughts, and whatever my thoughts are. Let's say I thought something and just the wrong words came out. It happens all the time, right? Has it ever happened where you tell someone it's on the left, and you say like you meant the right? Like, yeah, I meant the right, and it's like the person. Does it ever happen to you or no? Yeah, like you're saying one thing, but you mean something else. It happens all the time. So what happens if that's what actually happened, right? So that is a good question. A good question. Okay. The Gemara asked the question. The Gemara said Ta Shema, and the Gemara said you want to try to learn it out from Shema, saying Kriyat Shema, berachot Kriyat Shema in the morning is not going to work because there's an aspect of you should have night and day in both berachot. So there, having the wrong intention actually happens to be the right intention. So that's not going to work. We need to find another proof. Let's go find another one. Why does this keep on happening? Oh, it's this guy again. Okay, so now the Gemara says, fine. So you want to tell me that aspect of it is different. But do you remember the end of the beracha? What does the end of the beracha say? It said a line. It says, Klalo shel davar. Here is the general principle. Hakol holech achar achitum. Everything goes after the conclusion of the blessing. So the Gemara is going to say, you want to tell me how the morning and the night you have to include both, so it's not a good proof. But Ta Shema misefa. But let's try to now learn that from the line at the end of the beracha that says everything goes after the conclusion. Everything goes after the conclusion. Isn't that coming to include this very case? Isn't it coming to answer our question? And that the conclusion is what matters more. Again, I pick up beer. I think but I say if you go after the conclusion, then that's a case where this beracha would be sufficient. No. When the beracha says everything goes after the conclusion, it's actually coming to talk about another case. What's the other case? Oh, okay. I need more props here. You're talking about bread and dates, chorma. So it seems like. Like, what is the main staple food? The main staple food is bread. Bread is like a main staple food. But for many cultures, dates are actually also a main staple food. You could eat dates and you could live on dates for a long time, right? For weeks. Yeah, it's a good story. I'll share it later. Dates sustain you. Dates, you have a few dates and it gives you a lot of energy. So there's a situation where someone has bread and dates and they mix up the beracha. And in that case, there's going to be some overlap. Let's see it. Okay, let's try to equate the cases. The guy ate bread already. So now we're not talking about he's holding it and he's about to make a beracha. So he already ate something. The guy ate something because he ate bread, but he thought it was a date. So since he ate bread, what beracha is he going to say? We're talking about afterwards now. Sorry? So one more time. The guy The guy ate bread and he thought it was dates. So what bracha is he going to say? Since he thought it was dates, he's going to say the beracha of ala etz al etz, as you said. So he starts off upatach adate tamra. So he starts off by thinking about, I'm going to say the after beracha of dates. But then he corrected himself and he said berkat hamazon. So hainu bayan, that is the same question that we have now. It's our same question, because what happens is I pick up the beer, I think of the wrong bracha of wine that's not good, but then I correct myself to the right one. Same thing. I ate bread, I thought of the wrong bracha of tree items, a fruit, which is not the right one, but then I correct myself. So that's the same. So there you go. It's the same case. The gemara says no. That's actually. Let's get through this, and then we'll have questions after. It's actually a different case. Lo tzricha kegon de'achal tamrei. Someone ate dates. Okay, because savar na'ama achal, and it was so good that he thought he ate bread. So patach b'dana'ama. He's now going to say after blessing of bread, meaning he's going to start saying berkat hamazon. But then he corrected himself to say, to actually say the correct blessing of ala etz yatsa. He fulfilled his obligation. Why? Because even if he would have said berkat hamazon, that first beracha, it would have been fine also. Similar to like the shakol, if you say the berkat hamazon on dates, you're good. Why? My tama, the tamre nami mezan zaine. Because dates also give you sustenance. Dates have a unique quality that they're very sustaining, such that if someone says berkat hamazon on dates, fulfilled his obligation. Even though it's the wrong bracha, it's okay. So that's a situation where the guy ate dates, but he thought it was bread. So he starts saying berkat hamazon, which you might think is the wrong one, and then he corrects himself and he says the one for the dates of ala etz. But even if he would have said berkat hamazon, it would have been fine. So this now ends up being that, again, the faulty thought actually works out. So that's like the case where if I pick up I pick up wine, and I'm thinking to say shakol, which is wrong, and then I say bercha, okay, but your thought that was wrong was actually fine. So same idea. If I ate dates, I thought it was bread, and I'm going to say berkat hamazon, but then I correct myself. That faulty thought of saying berkat hamazon actually would have been fine, because dates have a special quality that you can say berkat hamazon on them. So based on this, the Gemara does not have an answer. The Gemara, and I know that there's questions, but let me just stop here. The Gemara asked us a question and says, if I say the right beracha, but I had the wrong thoughts, does that count or not? The Gemara says Ta Shema, brings the proof, tries to answer it. The Gemara says no good. The Gemara says Ta Shema, let me try again, and the Gemara rejects it. We do not have a conclusive proof. This is what's called a baya de la ifshita, a question that has no clear answer in the Gemara. So what do we do? Yeah, okay. Very good. So it's a machloket. That probably would have been a better answer. You say machloket. But there's a machloket. And in fact, some say that you do not need to make a bracha, and some say you do need to make a bracha. There are two opinions. And the Rambam has his own view of this whole Gemara. Along Tosfot, there's a 1,000,001 opinions on this. But I want to show you the Shulchan Aruch. So let's just look at Shulchan Aruch and try to see from the Shulchan Aruch how he holds. Okay? Can we do that? And then we'll open it up for questions. Okay? Someone tell me where I have to look up Shulchan Aruch. You have to look at the Gimel. So someone tell me where I have to look. Sorry? Say it louder, please. Reish Tet, yeah? Okay, very good, Jared. You got it. Mazak Baruch. Jared, tell him where it's written. Okay, you know what? Since Rama's asking, I'm gonna show it on the screen. I think we've gone through this before, but it's, now is always a good time. Okay. So let me show you what he just looked at. How do I open? Is there a way to open this up? Okay, we'll just do it like this. Let me share screen. Just zoom in, right? Okay, so I want to know where I have to look this up in Shulchan Aruch. So this is the page of the Gemara that you all have in front of you. Yeah, I know. I should be able to go like this also. There you go. Okay, so yeah, I have a touch screen. It's the first time I'm using it. So here, this is where our Gemara is. Pshita, this is our entire Gemara. This is where the question starts. If you see right here, you see that small little footnote reference? There's a small gimel there. You see that, Rama?
Yeah.
Okay, so that gimel is gonna send me to over here what's called the ein mishpat ner mitzvah. You see that? Everyone see that? So I have to look at the gimel, which is this. This is the gimel footnote, and it's telling me that if you want to look up this halacha, look up mem yud apostrophe, which stands for Maimon, which is the Rambam. So you could find this in the Rambam in Pechet. That means Pechet is chapter 8. Pechet is Perek Chet of Mihilchot Berachot, and the halachot berachot halacha yud aleph. So it's the Rambam Hilchot Berachot, chapter 8, law 11. Or you could look up, here is Shin Vav Ayin stands for Shulchan Aruch. Orach Chaim, Aleph Vav Chet is Orach Chaim, which is what Jared said. Siman Resh Tet here is 209. Seif Aleph Bet. Look up laws 1 and 2. So I'm going to go to Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, Siman 209, laws 1 and 2. Okay, so that's where it is. If you want, you could rewatch the recording later. So here we go. Let's see what Shulchan Aruch says, and you guys tell me what Shulchan Aruch is holding. Ready? It's not easy. You guys tell me what he's holding. Lakach kos shel shechar or shel mayim. He picks up a cup of beer or of water, which is hilarious. Because we could have done this whole entire Gemara with water. We didn't need to get the beer. Ita, how much money did you spend on this? Yeah. You could have just gotten beer here for water for free. But lakach lo kos shel shechar, a person takes a cup of beer or water, upatach ve'amar, and says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. He's saying this. Al dat lomar she'akol, with the intention to say she'akol. So he has in mind the right one. V'ta'ah ve'amar bar pri hagefen. But then he actually said the wrong words. Mr. Basalian's question. In machzirin oto, you don't need to go back. You had the right intention when you said the name of Hashem and you had shakol. You do not need to go back, even though you said the wrong words. So this is your questions. Why? Because at the moment that you mention the name of Hashem and the fact and His kingship, shehem ikar beracha, which is the core of a blessing. You had in mind the right beracha. So now it's very clear. What side is Shulchan Aruch taking? That the thought is what's most important. That's the first opinion of Shulchan Aruch. Rav.
It doesn't include the name.
Yeah. No, you're mixing things up. This was the question that we were dealing with, and we had a machloket between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan of what's the most important part of beracha. According to Rav, it's Baruch atah Hashem. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's Elokeinu melech haolam. So, but that's a different thing. V'yesh omrim, second answer of Shulchan Aruch, she'im lakach kos shel shechar o shel mayim. He picks up a cup of beer, v'savur shehu yain, and he thought it was wine. Now we're in our case. Okay. Upatach ve'amar Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Adat lomar bar pri hagefen. He opened up to thinking to say bar pri hagefen. So he has the wrong intention. And then he got a whiff and he realized that it's actually beer, or mayim, or water. And he said the beracha of she'akol. Yatsa. He fulfilled his obligation. What does that sound like? It's a matter about what you said, not your intention. So
he's saying if you have the right intention or you say the right words there.
Okay, so now there's a couple ways that we could understand this. Are the two opinions of Shulchan Aruch arguing, or is there's a consistent flow here that if you do either one of them, it works?
There's two conditions.
Yeah, that, or there's two different opinions. According to the first one, what you think matters, and according to the second one, what you say matters. Which one? Sorry, guys, it's unclear. We had a question. Shulchan Aruch says there's two possibilities. Okay, are you deciding that there's both work? Okay. V'kol sheken Hagad. This is the Rama. He says v'kol sheken im haya bi'ado yain v'savur shu mayim. So the Rama is Ashkenazi. Baruch Hashem. We don't have an Ashkenazi in the room. The Ashkenazi just want to say, oh, by the way, there was a very easy case that the Gemara said we don't need to discuss. I just want to mention that. What does he say? V'kol sheken shim haya bi'ado yain. He held up the wine v'savur shu mayim, and he thought it was water. Patacha da'atam amar she'akol. And he started to think about Shakol, then he started Ubirach Rabbi Geffen, and he ended up saying the right beracha, Sheyotzeh. He fulfills the obligation. Share, Af im siyem Shakol, even if he would have said Shakol Yatzeh, he would have fulfilled his obligation. Let's see one more from Shulchan Aruch. Number 2. Halacha number 2. Remember in the footnote that we saw, Rama, it said Aleph and Bet. So we have to see number 2. Lakach kos shel shechar, o shel maim. He picks up the beer. Ubirach Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei pri hagefen. He said the wrong thing. V'toch kedei dibur. And right away, toch kedei dibur means like within as he said it, he corrected himself. Nizkar sheta'ah, he realized he said the wrong beracha. Ve'omer shakol. He'd say, Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei pri hagefen. Shakol niya b'dvaro. Okay? So now it's like you correct yourself. This happens all the time also. Someone says the wrong beracha. What happens? V'chen hayta amirato Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. So what he said is Baruch Hashem Yatsa. He fulfilled his obligation. Why? Because he corrected himself so quickly, even though you said the wrong thing, it's fine. Okay, what I'll say is that this entire Gemara, it's unclear what's what. There are different ways of learning it, there are different opinions, and it's a big machloket. But here's the things that we're learning from Shulchan Aruch. That there's really stam veyesh, we have two opinions. The first one, he says it goes after the thoughts. The second one says that it goes after the actual words, so that your thoughts don't matter. It could be that these two answers are consistent, which is what you're saying. It could be that they're not. And then the last thing that we're learning here is that if you actually say the wrong thing, but you correct yourself, then that works. But my question is, if I said the wrong thing and I corrected myself, what was my intention when I said the wrong thing? Was my intention to say Sha'akol? I just said Borei Pri Hagefen because it popped out the same way how when someone means right, they say left, but they say left, they mean right. Is it like that? Complicated, guys. All of these halachot are complicated. But here's what I'll say. We have not really, in our Gemara, really entered in the world of berachot yet. We're still talking about Shema Yisrael. And as David Elamani asked, we spoke about Shema Yisrael, and when we said the Shema Yisrael, we said, hey, when you say a beracha, you're not allowed to add or change the details. We say, oh, I want to know which detail matters the most. So this is a tangent Gemara, but really these topics come up at length later on. So what I'll leave us off with now is this is what Shulchan Aruch tells us. The first opinion of Shulchan Aruch is that the thoughts is what matters the most. And this is, I believe, what the Rambam says also, that the thoughts is what matters the most. So if you had the right thoughts, but you said the wrong thing, it's okay. This is what your question was. But there's a machloket, there's other opinions, and there's other cases. A case of if you had the right thought and you said the wrong words, but then you corrected yourself, it could also be. So I'm not necessarily expecting us to come out with clarity of halacha from this Gemara, but I think this is a very important halacha Gemara because the concept of a question with a Ta Shema is very important. We tried to get the proofs, we didn't get the proofs, and then you see the Gemara doesn't have an answer. So what is the answer? The answer is machloket. You're going to have this machloket amongst other opinions to understand what the halacha is, and this, in fact, the answer is a machloket. Just a quick question, and then I'm going to open up for questions. Brave soul who wants to tell me what is a Ta Shema? Who wants to tell me what Ta Shema is? I warned you.
Gemara tries to bring a beracha to come to a conclusion.
Yeah. Conclusion to what?
To a question the Gemara asks.
Okay, very good. So the Gemara asks a question. It wants to try to get a proof, but there's no explicit answer. So what does it do? It says Ta Shema, and what is the function of Ta Shema? What is it gonna do right now? It's gonna quote another beracha and try to do something with that beracha. Try to draw a parallel or an inference and say this is how it works there, so that's how it works here. And what the Gemara might say is it's not the same. Don't say those two things are the same. Or You might say, but it is the same, but it's not the same. Ta Shema, let me try to bring another proof. But there's very often some gemarot will have like 10 Ta Shemas. Bring another proof, bring another proof, bring another proof to try to get to the answers. Okay? Questions? You got questions?
So there needs to be a parallel.
Yeah, from a Braita. To try to prove. It's unclear if it's going to be a successful proof or not. It's a parallel, it's an attempted proof. Ta Shema is bringing an attempted proof. Yes.
You would have the wrong intention when you say the wrong. God, you say.
Someone picks up beer and has no idea what it is and says, Berachot Hashem L'cham Boreh Mineh V'Samim, and then drinks it and they say, what are you doing? Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't thinking. Yeah. So then you have to, yes. If you say a completely wrong beracha and you have the wrong intention, you need to make another beracha. Yes. Oh, okay. This is where Tosafot comes. So you're coming with the important balance here is that why don't this whole question is, do I need to say it again or do I not need to say it again? What's the big deal? Just say it again. You don't just say Hashem's name for no reason. Okay, so don't say it. But what's the problem if I just say don't say it? You can't benefit from food items without making the right proper bracha. So that's a delicate balance. We don't want to say Hashem's name for no reason if you don't need to say it. But you can't eat something without saying the proper bracha. So this is where we're like between a rock and a hard place. And you have a machloket. You have some opinions say you should make the bracha, safek brachot, da'akera. Some say safek brachot. In this case, you should make the bracha again. There's one thing I have to say. Okay, I want everyone to say that. I'm going to say something, and I want you to say the next word, loud and clear. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'akol. That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get at, Rama. Who thinks it's niyah? Raise your hand. Who thinks it's niyah? Raise your hand. Is there a third option? Machloket. Always say machloket, but we Sephardim, we say niyah. Sephardim say the bracha of niyah. Ashkenazim say niyeh. They're both good. They're both good. It's all praising Hashem. It's not... Okay, but you don't look Ashkenazi. What? What is it? Yeah. That's another one. See, that is not as big of a deal. Here, it's in the text of a bracha. This is what we're learning, that the text of a bracha is sacred. We cannot mess around with the text of a bracha. So we have a difference of opinion within the text of a bracha. We say niyah, they say niyah. Ashkenazim. No, it's the same meaning. It's just whether it's masculine, feminine. It's the same thing. This is... Yeah. Go give him this. Give him this, and tell the guy to relax a little bit. But tell him to say a shakom, whatever he wants on it. No, but the thing is, you're right. It's not a big deal. If someone says niyah instead of niyah, or niyah instead of niyah, it's not a big deal. But we're learning the right way. According to Sfaradim, we say shakom niyah b'dvaron. Ashkenazim say shakom niyah b'dvaron. But both are saying the same thing. Both are praising Hashem. If you say the wrong bracha, this is not a big deal. Not a big deal. Questions? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, why are if you care so much about intention, why are they not more focused on like the item itself?
More specific?
More specific than what it is already. Like, why are we not saying things that you gave me this beer? Like,
yeah.
Or beer in general. Like,
Okay, excellent question. Meaning, if we're going with what Rama told us from Shalom Bayit perspective, the more detail you give, the better. So then why don't we give you a blank check and say the bracha, you could say whatever you want. Just more detail, the better. You know, just chat GPT it. And say like, give me the most in-depth bracha on this type of beer. Ask me whatever you need. So, what year it was made, what country it was imported, who bottled it. Say all of it. So what do you think the answer is? Because in Sofla Davar, and there's no end to it. There has to be somewhere where you draw the line. If we tell you every single thing that needs one bracha, guess what? Yatsa scharo b'efsedo. You're gonna, no one's gonna say brachot. Or every bracha you're gonna say is gonna be wrong. Because you're never going to go into too much detail. So Chachamim came up with certain levels, and we're not at this stage. We're following the bracha that Chachamim said. There's Priya Etz, there's Priya Adama, there's Mizanot, Mina Mizanot, there's Priya Gefen, Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. And that's what we go by. Could they have done more? They could have, but they didn't. This is what they did. There's enough detail, not too much, not too little, and that's what we go by. And then, when you don't know what it is, or there's some safek, you have the shakol catch-all. Okay? I have a feeling the questions will never end. But anyway, go ahead, Rama.
When you say I shouldn't blame the being, you see something kind of fix it to Lamdim together?
Oh,
What
okay.
does that mean exactly?
Okay. I'll end up with this. Let's say someone is saying Baruch Ata Hashem, and they realize that they shouldn't make a bracha. Okay? Give me an example. A guy picks up a,
Using a water fountain and.
or something, you have an issue, or let's say, for example, you pick up a cheese curl and you say Baruch Ata Hashem and you realize you just ate meat.
You stop.
And I'm about to say Baruch Ata Hashem. Do I make the bracha and eat the cheese curl and just like deal with it? Or do I stop myself? Or let's say you take an apple and you pick it up, you say Baruch Ata Hashem, and you see there's a big worm right in the middle. I'm not eating this thing. I'm gonna go bite from the other end. I'm not touching this thing. So what happens? So the answer is okay. So it depends on where you're up to. If you say Baruch Ata Hashem, you say the name of Hashem, you say those three words, you could say Lamdeni Chukecha. And then you're clear. It's like you got out of jail free card. If you say Lamdeni Chukecha, why? Lamdeni Chukecha, which means teach me your laws, your ways. Why? Anyone know why? Yes? Very good. Because that is a verse, a pasuk in Tehillim. You could say psukim with the name of Hashem all you want. Look at this. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. I just said a pasuk with the name of God. It's fine. What you're not allowed to do is not allowed to say a bracha, a Baruch Ata Hashem in vain. But to say a pasuk, a whole pasuk, there's no problem. So the guy starts saying Baruch Ata Hashem and then says, you know what, I'm not going through with this. I get cold feet. So you could pull out this pasuk from Tehillim and say Lamdeni Chukecha, and you're good. But what happens if you pass that? If you say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, or you say Asher Kedishanu, or you say Shakol Niyam B'dvaro, and at that point you realize you made a mistake, what do? Very good. So you messed up, you do teshuvah, you try not to do it again, and you say this line of Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed, which means blessed is the name of Hashem forever. You're saying, I just disrespected the name of Hashem, but now I'm saying Hashem's name should be blessed forever. I am now Baruch Shem Kevod. I am respecting Hashem's name. And in fact, that's what happens if you say a bracha, levatala, bracha that you shouldn't say, you try to fix it by saying Baruch Shem. To say, it's not the right way to do it. Actually, I would love to have an Ashkenazi in the class. It would really be so helpful. The Ashkenazim, we Sfaradim for tefillin. Very good. So what is it? We say Baruch Ata Hashem Mechalam, tefillin. You make a bracha on the Shalrosh. Sfaradim do not, unless they speak in between. If they speak in between, unless they speak in between, you don't. One bracha covers both. With Ashkenazim, many of them, what they do is they say Beracha al mitzvah tefillin. But you may not be required to make that bracha, which is we Sfaradim, we don't. So since they may not be required to make the bracha, what do? They say Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed right afterwards. So they're saying maybe we have to make the bracha, so they'll say the bracha. But in the event that we don't need to, we're going to say Baruch Hashem to show we respect the name of Hashem. The Sfaradim, the way they deal with that is they say we may not need to, so we don't say it. But they say we may not need to, but we may need to, so we'll say it, but we'll say Baruch Hashem to show that we're not trying to disgrace Hashem's name. Yes.
You're on a diet, you're eating a salad for dinner.
Okay.
Chicken salad.
This has never happened in my life, but okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, you're like, I'm still hungry, you start pounding bread. Are you supposed to say hamotzi now? Because you already said shakol.
Okay, yes. Wait, this is a halachot berachot class. We're learning the gemara of the page. The focus of the page is page 12. So the answer is if in the middle of you say shakol does not cover hamotzi. So if a person wants to eat bread in the middle of his meal, he would then, or this happens, I'll tell you where this happens often. Someone is like, there's a meal and there's different food items, there's pizza there, there's pasta there. So you start eating some pasta and then afterwards like, oh, the pizza looks really good. Okay, I want to do that. So do you say hamotzi? The answer is yes.
You'll wash.
You should wash and say hamotzi. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, very good. Azak Baruch, everyone. Have a great week. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll pick up next week. Chodesh Tov, Chodesh Tov, yes.
Chodesh Tov. Good night, everyone.
Chodesh Tov, everyone.
Good night.